You are sitting in the middle of an ordinary conversation when it happens. Not a premonition, not a feeling, a complete knowing. You can see exactly where this is going, not next week, years from now. The final scene is already visible to you, sharp and inevitable, whilst everyone else is still reading the first line. You have always been able to do this. There is a name for it. Welcome to Power and Myth. The scene is not dramatic. That is the first thing to understand. You are not standing in a doorway with lightning behind you. You are in a kitchen, a meeting room, or a car, and someone is talking. They are telling you about a new job, or a new relationship, or a plan they are excited about. And whilst they speak, something happens inside you that you have never been able to explain adequately. The information arrives not in pieces but whole, complete. You do not think your way to the conclusion. The conclusion appears, fully formed, like a landscape that was always there and has now been lit. You see the pattern, not the surface pattern, not what this person is saying, but what this person is doing. Not this moment, but the arc of which this moment is one early point. You see the choice embedded in this excitement that will cost them something they have not yet learned to value. You see the friendship that will end not because of cruelty, but because of a distance neither of them will know how to name. You see the job accepted with such hope, gradually revealing the same corridor they have been walking in every role before this one. And you say nothing. This is the part that others never understand. They assume that if you see something, you speak it. But you have learned, probably through consequences you have not forgotten, that what you see is not always receivable, that speaking the complete knowing too early or too directly is not helpful. It is simply isolating. You have seen the endings of things before they have properly begun. You have learned that being right in this particular way does not bring you closer to anyone. It places you on the other side of a glass, watching. The silence is not passivity. It is the discipline of someone who has carried this perception long enough to know its social cost. There is a name for what you are carrying. In Jungian psychology, this is introverted intuition at full capacity. In dominant cognition, the cognitive function that does not process information linearly but processes it underground, synthesizing vast and unconscious data into complete pattern recognition. What you experience as sudden knowing is, psychologically, the surface arrival of an extended unconscious process. The information was always being gathered, the synthesis was always happening. You simply receive the completed work. But the archetype that holds this experience in the oldest and deepest way is not a psychological term. It is a name from before psychology existed to name it. The seer, the one who perceives what others cannot, the one who stands at the edge of what is visible and looks into what is not yet manifest. Cassandra, daughter of Troy, was given the gift of true prophecy and then cursed so that no one would believe her. The seer does not suffer from inaccuracy. The seer suffers from the unbridgeable distance between what is seen and what can be communicated. This is what you carry, not a trick of intelligence, not overthinking, a different relationship to time, to pattern, to the invisible architecture beneath visible events. You do not see what is happening. You see what is already in motion. The patterns the Sigma INFJ perceives are not random. They are structural. They are the patterns that govern human behavior beneath conscious choice, the wound beneath the ambition, the fear beneath the confidence, the need beneath the anger. When someone speaks, you do not hear only the words. You hear the story the words are standing in front of. The narrative that has been running since long before this conversation, that will continue running long after it ends. Jung spent decades documenting this. The collective unconscious, he argued, is not metaphor, it is the shared substrate of human experience, the ancient patterns that appear in every culture's mythology, every individual's psychological life, every repeating dynamic between people. The nigh-dominant INFJ does not simply see the personal pattern, they see the pattern as it participates in the larger pattern, the individual story as one iteration of the universal story. This is why your perception feels disproportionately deep, because it is. You are not reading the situation. You are reading the situation as it participates in something far older than itself. This is not supernatural. This is dominant cognition operating at full capacity, processing unconscious data and delivering what feels to others like prophecy and to psychology pattern completion. And this is where the shadow lives. The shadow of the seer is not the gift misused. It is the gift turned inward when it can no longer be given. When the Sigma INFJ has spoken their perception often enough to be dismissed or to cause harm they did not intend, the gift does not disappear, it redirects, it turns toward the self. The seer who can no longer offer what they see to others begins to see with relentless clarity every pattern in their own life that is not working, every arc of their own behavior that ends where they do not want to arrive. The gift, denied its natural direction, becomes a private instrument of scrutiny. You begin to map your own destruction with the same precision you once brought to others, and unlike the people you watched, you have nowhere to look away. This is the wound inside the gift. Not that you see too much, but that seeing too much, alone, without witness, becomes a particular kind of isolation. You carry a map of territories others have not entered. You walk through the world holding information that was not asked for and cannot always be offered. And there are days when you wonder whether the perception is a gift at all, or simply the thing that keeps you permanently, beautifully, devastatingly apart. Chiron carries this too. The wounded healer of Greek mythology, who taught others to heal wounds he could not heal in himself. The seer and the wounded healer share the same territory, the one who carries something others need, in a form that costs them to carry it. The pattern you see in others you can see in yourself. The arc you can map in someone else's story you can map in your own. That double vision, seeing outward and inward simultaneously, that is the weight of the nickel-dominant experience at its fullest. And it is exhausting. Not because you are weak, but because no one else in the room is carrying it. But here is what the archetype also holds. Cassandra was not wrong. She was simply living in a world not yet ready for what she carried. The seer's accuracy is not the problem. The seer's context is the problem. Every mythology that includes the seer includes the eventual moment when the seer is understood, not always in time, not always by the people they most wanted to reach, but understood, the pattern seen, the knowing vindicated. You do not need to be believed in real time to be accurate. You do not need confirmation to have known. The delay in its recognition does not diminish the gift. Return, now, to the scene, the ordinary room, the conversation, the person talking about their plan whilst the whole arc of it is already visible to you. You are sitting with that knowing again, but you see it differently now, not as a burden carried alone in silence, as evidence of the cognitive architecture you were built with. Introverted intuition processing unconscious data and delivering complete knowings. The seer pattern, ancient and documented, appearing in your experience as it has appeared in human experience for as long as there have been people perceptive enough to carry it. The question is not whether you should have this gift. The question is what it means to carry it with dignity, not by silencing it, not by speaking it recklessly into rooms that are not ready for it, but by learning to live as someone who holds two timelines simultaneously, the one everyone is living in and the one you can already see. This is not isolation. This is the threshold you were built to stand at. The seer does not live in one moment of time. You are made for the edge of the visible. That is not a wound. That is the territory. Tell me in the comments, what is one pattern you've seen clearly, long before anyone else could see it? The moment you knew and had to wait for the world to catch up. I read everything you share here. This is power and myth. We are here to name what has been nameless. Subscribe if you want to keep exploring what it means to carry what you carry. Until next time, find your power, know your myth.